Good day, everybody, and welcome to Cricket South Africa's Level 1 umpiring course. My name is Tom Mokorosi. I am a Cricket South Africa umpire trainer, and my co-presenter for the course is Abdullah Steenkamp, who is also a Cricket South Africa umpire trainer. On display at the moment are the meeting protocols for this and all of our lectures. You will notice that your microphones and cameras have been deactivated while we present to avoid any disruptions. At the end of the presentation, we will activate your microphones and cameras, and we will all be able to engage together in a live question and answer sessions. While we present, you are allowed to type any questions you have on the content that we are presenting in the chat box, and we will answer those questions after the presentation before the live question and answer session. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel latest tomorrow for all those who miss the lecture or want to revise what we have gone through. Formal introduction, bottom left, Abdullah Steenkamp is on the Cricket South Africa National First Class panel, and in July 2025 was awarded with Cricket South Africa's Umpire of the Year award. Congratulations to him and all the best for the 2025-2026 season. On the bottom right is a picture of myself, and I am also, apart from being on Cricket South Africa's National First Class panel of umpires, I'm also an ICC, that is the International Cricket Council, Umpire Master Educator for Africa. So I train umpires not only in South Africa, but the rest of the continent as well. Between the two of us, we will be taking you through 4 level 1 lectures, and then you will be moving on to an online exam. This is what our timetable looks like for the course. On Tuesday, we had the Tuesday class lecture 1. Today is a repeat of that lecture, which is lecture 1 of our Thursday class. And so we will have 4 lectures over the next 4 weeks. After the 4 lectures, our 10-day exam window period will open on 10 a.m. Friday, the 21st of November, and it will run until Monday, the 1st of December at 9:59 a.m. You will have all passed the introduction to umpiring exam. Either you passed it November 2024 or February 2025, or most recently in September or October 2025. We will be using the same supplier in terms of online website for our level 1 exam, Umpires Universe. Those of you who wrote in September and October, you will use exactly the same username and the same password to log into your profile. And the Cricket South Africa Level 1 exam is 69 questions. Some of them are true or false. Some of them are multiple choice questions. So listen out to all the content that we present over the next 4 weeks, especially the revision lecture, which will be the second half of lecture number 4. That will help you to pass your exam. So stay with us for the next 4 lectures, and we hope you enjoy the content that we present. And if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box or ask them live at the end of the lecture. Today's lecture will be as follows. I will present the spirit of cricket as well as laws 1 through to 5. And then we shall take a 10-minute break, and then Abdullah will present laws 6 through to 11. Today I'm going to start with a video from the International Cricket Council that encapsulates what makes a brilliant umpire. So let's watch the video and let's strive to all become the best in the world. This is how they do it.
Umpires have one of the toughest jobs in cricket, and the Emirates elite panel of ICC umpires contains the best umpires in the business. An elite umpire must possess many skills and attributes. Concentration. One of the greatest challenges for an umpire is to maintain his concentration over a long period of time. During a test match, an umpire is required to concentrate for 6 hours a day, for 5 days in a row, having to make split-second, high-pressure decisions at any given moment throughout that time. That one? Yes, that one's it. Man management. An on-field umpire must be able to manage any infractions that occur during a match, with players sometimes involved in heated discussions with both the opposition and with the umpire himself. The umpire's relationships can also help ensure that the game is played in the correct spirit. Adaptability. Match days for an umpire can vary greatly, from a T20 match played in cold and blustery conditions under floodlights to a full day of a test match in the searing sun. From a tranquil crowd in the afternoon of a test match to the thunderous roars from a T20 stadium in full flow, an umpire must be able to adapt to a wildly varying array of conditions. Endurance. Umpiring places heavy physical and mental demands on those who undertake it. A good umpire must be physically fit and mentally sharp in order to stand in the field and concentrate for prolonged periods of time. Has it pitched in line? It's given it. Elite cricketers can bowl the ball at speeds of up to 150 kilometers an hour, leaving just milliseconds from the point of release to the ball reaching the batsman. An umpire therefore has the same amount of time to judge the play and then make a decision. Sharp reactions are key. Trust your judgment. An umpire has to make dozens of crucial decisions in every match. A good umpire must be able to trust his own judgment in order to make quick, decisive decisions. Calm under pressure. When matches are tight and with players fired up and crowds at fever pitch, the outcome can be decided by an umpire's decision. So being able to stay calm under pressure is essential for an elite umpire. Teamwork. Umpires work as part of a match official team of 5 at major international matches. The standing on-field umpires are only as good as the team they work with, and the third and fourth umpire and match referee make up the crucial 5-man officiating team.
Teamwork makes the dream work. That is how you will get to be the best umpire that you can be. So stick with us as we take you through this journey, and hopefully someday you will make it as far as possible on the umpiring ladder. Cricket talks about the spirit of cricket, and in the law book you will find that even before law number 1, we have a preamble to the laws, and they speak about the spirit of cricket. So what is the spirit of cricket? Let's have a watch of this video and we will learn a little bit more about the spirit of cricket.
Well, the spirit of cricket is about going out there, giving your all 100%, fighting against the opposition, but doing it with a smile on your face and doing it with enormous respect for the beautiful game of cricket.
Never stop. The way you conduct yourself on and off the field, it's about respecting the opposition, respecting the game.
You embracing the game, yes. but also how you play the game, what example you are for young kids growing up.
I think the spirit of cricket is about respecting the traditions of what's been before us and those who have been before us as well. And as cricketers, we've got a duty to make sure we uphold those.
You know, you let your skills go to work when you play, but you treat each other and the game itself, which has been around a lot longer than us, with respect, and you hope that you leave it in a better place than what you started with.
Playing it hard, playing it fair, and you're representing your country, and we're very, very privileged. You should cherish that.
It's obviously competitive. No professional international sport isn't, and you would never want to lose that competitiveness from any of the players, because that's what makes the game as good as it is. But it's obviously a line in terms of doing it the right way and doing it the wrong way, and I think it's one of the important things when trying to, I guess, inspire people to play the sport.
Yeah, just conducting yourself in a way that probably your parents and your grandparents would want you to. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it.
Obviously, after what happened in South Africa, you know, I know those guys really well, and I know that they're not proud of that, and they made a mistake. And unfortunately, that's something they're going to have to live with, because at the end of the day, he made a mistake, but he's still a very good person.
Everybody will make a mistake at some point in their career, but it's about repairing those mistakes in future games and learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about still being competitive and still wanting to win, but yeah, certainly you can win and lose in the right manner.
But I think out of that, you know, we've thought a lot about just respecting the game and everything around the game, and just putting the focus back on just playing the game.
So it was a really closely fought semi-final, kind of went down to the wire, and you obviously kind of had a moment of celebration. But then your thought quite quickly turns to the opposition. It's obviously not something you think out or anything like that. It just kind of seemed like the right thing to do at that time.
We lost a test match against England, which was a cracking test match. Between two very, very good cricket teams playing aggressively but playing in the right spirit. And after that test match, we sat in the English dressing room, as the losers do. They go through to the winners' dressing room and shared a beer with them. And for me, it was just encapsulated everything which was good about the game.
I remember the Ashes Test match in 2005.
For me, the most iconic one is the 2005 Ashes, when Freddie Flintoff obviously consoled Brett Lee.
When he was sitting down and when Flintoff went to him and shake his hand, I think that's the spirit of cricket for me.
Yeah, that for me is the iconic moment. Kind of the result obviously went England's way, but he took the time to console a bloke that had put in a hell of a performance.
It'll be something like, I want to tell you, the great admiration for you, where you guys played this match.
Sure, you know, your respect for the opposition. End of the day, it's just a game of cricket, but I think that's the spirit of cricket for me.
But you actually together, you sit down together, and that's the spirit of cricket, friendship.
That's the spirit of cricket, friendship. And I hope that your journey with cricket so far has been a good one and will continue to be so. So let's see what the lawmakers write about the spirit of cricket. The lawmakers tell us that respect is central to the spirit of cricket. Players must respect their captain, their teammates, opponents, and the authority of the umpires. Play hard, but play fair, and accept the umpire's decision. The game of cricket owes much of its appeal and enjoyment to the fact that it should be played not only according to the laws, but also within the spirit of cricket. Now, the major responsibility for ensuring fair play rests with the captains, but extends to all players, umpires, and especially in junior cricket, it extends to teachers, coaches, and parents as well. Now let's watch a video of a real life scenario where the spirit of cricket was on show. This match was between Ireland and Nepal, and it was a World Cup qualifier, which obviously meant that the team that won the tournament would progress to the World Cup. So very important match. And usually teams do everything in their power to win such important matches. But here we have an example of where the spirit of cricket led to a very sportsmanship act from Nepal. Let's have a look.
To point that across the line. McBride has ended up on his feet. I don't think they're going to run him out here, and that is brilliant to see. Asif Sheikh, take a bow. We speak so often about where the spirit of cricket has gone in our game, and you see it on show there, because Kamal Singh Irie has accidentally tripped up Andy McBride, and I've got goosebumps here in the commentary box, because that's a touching moment. It was accidental, but he could have run him out here, and Asif Sheikh has said no. He said he's not going to do it because of the spirit of the game. That's your nominee for the Spirit of Cricket Award for 2022 for the ICC. It's that young man, Asif Sheikh.
Massive respect for Asif there.
Here's this moment, the spirit of cricket moment. He's clearly tripped him, unintentionally albeit. And Asif Sheikh did the right thing. He had to think for a moment. It's only a split second he has. What was lovely to see, the turn, and he went back, and Andy McBride said, thank you very much. He went over and shook his hand, and he said, you've done the right thing, and equally the same from Sandeep Lamachani. Brilliantly led. There's two young, inspirational men, Sandeep Lamachani and the man of the moment, Asif Sheikh.
So what role can we as umpires play in the spirit of cricket or promoting the spirit of cricket? As mentioned earlier, it does rest mainly on the players, especially the captains. In this scenario, if Asif Sheikh, the wicketkeeper of Nepal, had put the wicket down, then the Irish batter would have been out, run out, as per the laws of cricket. In international cricket and in professional provincial cricket, the umpires are not allowed to ask the fielding captain to withdraw an appeal. However, in club cricket and in hub cricket that you will be umpiring in, us as umpires, if there's a controversial appeal, we can ask the fielding captain if they will consider withdrawing that controversial appeal, or if they want to go ahead with the controversial appeal. If they decide to go ahead with the controversial appeal, unfortunately, us as umpires need to make the correct decision as per the laws of cricket, but hopefully they will take our option of withdrawing the controversial appeal, and then we do not have to give a batter out controversially. So that is how umpires can contribute or encourage the spirit of cricket to be played by players and captains. So now let's move on to the laws of cricket. As mentioned, I will take you through laws 1 through to 5, then we'll have a 10-minute break, and Abdullah will take us through laws 6 to 11. We start with the number of players in a team, and I'm sure you all know a match is played between two sides, each of 11 players, one of whom shall be captain. By agreement, a match may be played between sides of fewer than or more than 11 players, but not more than 11 players may field at any one point in time. So South Africa played 2 test matches against Pakistan earlier this month, and they probably had a warm-up game in Pakistan before the test matches. And in that warm-up game, they would have wanted all of their batters in the 16-man squad to have a bat, and they would have wanted all of their bowlers in the 16-man squad to bowl. So quite likely that all 16 players got to participate in that warm-up match. And it was still within the laws of cricket. All that the laws stipulate is that not more than 11 players may field at the same time. If during the match and for whatever reason a side is reduced to fewer than the original number of nominated players, the match shall continue as long as it is possible to do so under the laws or any agreements made before the toss. So for many tournaments, leagues, or competitions around the world, they are governed by what are called playing conditions. So the playing conditions of Western Province Cricket Association for club cricket matches in and around Cape Town specify that a team must have a minimum of 7 players for the match to go ahead. So in our Western Province playing conditions, they allow 30 minutes worth of grace period for a team to have 7 or more players for the match to start. So if at 10 a.m. when the match is supposed to start, a team only has 6 players, we will wait until a 7th player arrives. If we still at 10:30 don't have 7 players, then unfortunately that team will lose the match. The defaulting side will lose the match, and the match will be awarded to the team which has its full quota of players, or at least more than 7 or more players. So that again is part of the agreements made before the toss or documented in the playing conditions for the match, league, or tournament. On the right of the screen is what a team sheet looks like. We, at the top of this Western Province Cricket Association team sheet, we specify which format is being played. We used to play 2-day cricket in Cape Town. We still play 1-day limited overs cricket, and our T20 competition is called Ama-20s. So there at the top, you would also put in the name of the league, the venue of the match, as well as the date which you are playing on. Then you enter the teams of the two names, starting with the names of the two teams, starting with the home team on the left versus the away team on the right. You will notice that there is place for a substitute fielder underneath number 11. If they do have a substitute fielder, or what used to be known as 12th man, you can include that name as well. Captain right at the top, and then the rest of the 11. Preferably in batting order, but it does not have to be in batting order. At the bottom, we also write the names of the two umpires, just so that we all know who is involved in that particular match. Law tells us that each captain shall nominate his or her players in writing to one or both umpires before the toss. And very importantly, no player may be changed after the nomination without the consent of the opposing captain. So we will learn later in the laws that the toss takes place earliest 30 minutes before the start of play, latest 15 minutes before the scheduled start of play. So if a match is supposed to start at 10 a.m., then the toss will normally take place at 9:30. So now at the toss, the team sheets are exchanged between the two teams. And what happens is before, during, and after the toss, there are warm-ups that are taking place on the outfield with both teams getting ready for the match. What happens if a player, after the team sheets have been exchanged and their name was one of the nominated players for Team A, what happens if player Z for Team A gets injured after the toss, but before the match starts? Then the captain of Team A can ask for player Z to be replaced by player X. And who gives the permission? Is it the umpires? No, it's not the umpires who would allow or give permission for that player to be replaced. It is the opposing captain who needs to say, yes, okay, we saw your player get injured after the toss, during the warm-up, before the match, and we will allow player X to take the place of player Z. So the change will be made on the team sheet and player X will be able to take full part in the match. He or she can bat, can bowl, can keep wicket, and can even captain if required. Nomination and replacement of players. Any replacement player shall be considered the same player as the nominated player he or she has replaced for the purposes of the laws of cricket. As an example, a replacement player shall not bat in an innings in which the nominated player that he or she is replacing has already completed his or her innings. Any unserved penalty time, warnings, or suspension that applied to the original nominated player will be inherited by his or her replacement. That is obviously if the replacement happens during the match. Let's learn a little bit more about the captain and the duties of the captain and his or her interaction with the umpires. Firstly, if at any time the captain is not available, a deputy shall act on his or her behalf. If a captain is not available to fill in the nomination sheet, if the captain is not available to fill in the nomination sheet, then any person associated with that team may act as his or her deputy to do so. Practically what happens when we get to a club field on a Saturday, we give the team sheets to the scorers of each side. Why? Because the players are busy warming up. So you don't want to interrupt them and have the captain stop his or her warm-ups to fill out the team sheet. The scorers, as allowed by law, are able to fill out the team sheet on behalf of the captain. However, at any time after the nomination of the players, so that is at the toss, only a nominated player can act as deputy in discharging the duties and responsibilities of the captain. So can a coach take the team sheet to the toss? If that coach is a player coach and is playing in that match and his or her name is listed on the team sheet, then yes, the coach can attend the toss in place of the captain. But if the coach is not listed on the team sheet and will not be playing in the match, then no, they cannot take the team sheet and represent the captain at the toss. So the person who is at the toss needs to be one of the listed 11 players on the team sheet. Let's move on to Law 2, the umpires. How are umpires appointed? Law tells us that before the match, 2 umpires shall be appointed, one for each end, usually the north end and the south end, to control the game as required by the laws with absolute impartiality. The umpires shall be present on the ground and report to the executive of the ground at least 45 minutes before the scheduled start of each day's play. Why 45 minutes? We will learn in our practical training session, which will be held all around the country at different hubs. Details of those sessions will be communicated to all NYS candidates second half of November. Those practical sessions will be the first week of December. We will learn in those practical training sessions that there are a lot of pre-match duties that the umpires need to carry out, including overseeing of the toss. And I mentioned that the toss takes place anytime during the 15-minute window period, which earliest 30 minutes before the start of play, latest 15 minutes before the start of play. So that's one of the reasons why the umpires need to be at the field at least 45 minutes before the scheduled start of each day's play. I'll tell you now that club cricket in Western Province requires us to be at the field 1 hour before the scheduled start of play. For the T20 Cricket South Africa domestic competition, the playing conditions require umpires to be at the field 1 hour and 15 minutes before the scheduled start of play. But for a televised match, we normally like to get there at least 1 hour and 30 minutes before the start of the match. So again, let's look at law, but if we have playing conditions that differ from the law, then we follow the playing conditions. Can an umpire be changed? Law tells us that an umpire shall not be changed during the match other than in exceptional circumstances. That is, unless he or she is injured or ill. If there has to be a change of umpire, the replacement shall act only as the striker's end umpire, unless the captains agree that he or she is fully qualified, and then they can take full responsibility as a bowler's end umpire and a striker's end umpire. The captains have to have a relationship with the umpires, and law tells us that before the toss, the umpires shall meet with the captains to determine a few things. These are what they will discuss: the balls to be used during the match, the hours of play and the times and durations of intervals, which clock is to be used during the match. If there is a stadium clock for everybody to see, that is the best clock to use. If there is a time on a digital scoreboard, that is also a very good timepiece to use because everybody can see it during the match. If there is no time on the scoreboard, or if there is no stadium clock, then the on-field umpires need to make sure that their time is synchronized with their partner as well as the scorers, so that everybody is on the same page in terms of timings. Umpires and the captains also need to discuss the boundary of the field of play and allowances for boundaries, including whether any obstacle within the field of play is to be regarded as a boundary. A lot of cricket fields around the country share sporting codes, so you might have soccer poles, you might have rugby poles, or you might even have a tree inside the field of play. So you, as an umpire, need to find out from the home captain what is the local custom for the ball hitting the rugby poles, for example. If the ball rolls along the ground and hits the rugby poles inside the cricket field, is it a 4, or do you just carry on running? If the ball is hit in the air and it hits the rugby poles or the soccer poles on the full, is it a boundary 6? Is it a boundary 4? Or do the batters just keep running? Remember that cricket has been played long before you arrived at that field, so there is a local custom in place. Do not make up your own rule. Find out from the home captain what that local custom is and make sure you reconfirm and communicate that custom at the toss to both captains. We also need to remind the captains that both teams need to be involved when it comes to bringing on the covers to ensure that no rain or as little as possible gets onto the pitch. Often, if teams are batting and they are in trouble and they can see that rain is coming, they won't want to help to put the covers on so that even when the rain stops, the pitch is too wet to continue play. So make sure you communicate with both captains at the toss, if there's rain expected in the match, that as soon as it starts to drizzle, the batting side should go towards the covers, and as soon as the umpires call for the covers to come on, then the batting side starts moving the covers on, and then the fielding side will help and join. We also need to discuss any special conditions affecting the course of the match. I'll give you an example of a special condition that affected the course of an Ashes test match between England and Australia in the 90s back at Lord's Cricket Ground, the home of cricket in London. The then Queen of England wanted to meet with the players from both sides, and she was only available at 12 midday. Those of you who know the test match times in England, the morning session is from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. with a 4-minute drinks break scheduled for 12. Because the Queen needed 15 minutes to come down from her royal box, walk onto the field and shake the players' hands, they decided to have a 15-minute interval on the field when all of that happened, and then they extended that morning session to finish at 1:15 and have lunch then rather than the normal 1 p.m. So that was a special condition that affected the course of that match, and of course it was discussed before the match and confirmed at the toss before the start of the first day's play. Quite importantly, anything and everything that we discuss with the captains at the toss, we also need to inform the scorers of all of these arrangements. They are part of our team, and we should never forget to update them on any changes to playing conditions or any special conditions affecting the course of the match. Who is in charge of fair and unfair play? Law tells us that the umpires shall be the sole judges of fair and unfair play. Who is in charge of the fitness of the field for play? Is it the ground staff? Is it the home captain? Is it the fielding side? No. Once again, it is solely for the umpires together to decide whether conditions of ground, weather, or light are dangerous or unreasonable. Very importantly, conditions shall not be regarded as either dangerous or unreasonable merely because they are not ideal. Can we play cricket in drizzle? Yes, we can play cricket in light drizzle. It is not dangerous and it is not unreasonable to play through a light drizzle. Law tells us that the fact that the grass and the ball are wet does not warrant the conditions being regarded as unreasonable or dangerous. Of course, if we play in light drizzle for an extended period of time, say 30 minutes or more, then you will find that the pitch starts to change in its condition and the ball gets wet and takes on a soap-like texture, and that can lead to the ball slipping out of the bowler's hand, and that we would consider as dangerous. But a few minutes of playing in light drizzle, we will not consider as dangerous or unreasonable. So when will conditions be regarded as dangerous? If there is actual or foreseeable risk to the safety of players or umpires, then conditions shall be regarded as dangerous. Conditions shall be regarded as unreasonable if, although posing no risk to safety, it would not be sensible for play to continue. For example, if we have a dust storm and there is dust flying all around the field and visibility is low, it would not be sensible to continue playing. Either we need to get off the field and wait until the dust storm has passed, or we need to stop play and wait on the field until the dust storm has passed. So how do we judge if conditions are dangerous or unreasonable? If the ground is so wet or slippery that it deprives the bowler of a reasonable foothold, especially fast bowlers who land heavily when they bowl, if that landing area is soft, wet, or slippery, that will be considered dangerous. If the fielders are deprived of power of movement because of soft, wet, or slippery under feet conditions, that will be considered as dangerous. If batters do not have the ability to play their strokes or to run between the wickets because of slippery conditions, that will be considered dangerous and play shall be suspended or not allowed to commence. So if at any time the umpires together agree that conditions of ground, weather or light are dangerous or unreasonable, they shall immediately suspend play or not allow play to start or recommence. If play is in progress and the umpires do not agree if conditions are dangerous or unreasonable, then they shall err on the side of caution, and because one of them feels that conditions are not safe, they shall immediately suspend play. When there's a suspension of play, it is the responsibilities of the umpires to monitor conditions. They shall make inspections as often as appropriate, unaccompanied by any players or officials. So after a rain break, you've gone off for rain, it stops raining, we need to check that the field is in playable condition. We need to make sure that there are no mud patches, there are no wet patches, there are no slippery or very soft areas on the field which would be dangerous for fielders, bowlers, or batters. Do we go with the ground staff for that inspection? No. Law tells us that we need to be unaccompanied by any players or officials. So just the 2 umpires, or if you have a third umpire, then you go with the third umpire for that inspection. As soon as the umpires together agree that conditions are no longer dangerous or unreasonable, they shall call upon the players to resume play. Let's look at positioning of umpires. The umpire shall stand where he or she can best see any act upon which his or her decision might be required. Subject to this overriding consideration, the bowler's end umpire shall stand in a position so as not to interfere with either the bowler's run-up or the striker's view. Interestingly enough, the law does not specify that the bowler's end umpire needs to stand directly behind middle stump. However, it does tell us that the umpire shall stand where he or she can best see any act upon which his or her decision may be required. So for you to make accurate judgment of especially LBW decisions, leg before wicket decisions, the bowler's end umpire must stand behind middle stump. So before the match starts, one of your duties is to line each other up, and we shall go through this lining up process in our practical training sessions around the countries at hubs in the first week of December. And we will also show you how far back to stand behind the middle stump. Do we stand 1 meter behind the middle stump? Do we stand 2 meters? Do we stand 3 meters? Do we stand 5 or 10 meters behind the middle stump? All of that will come in our practical training session in December. That's the bowler's end umpire. What about the striker's end umpire? Law tells us that the striker's end umpire may elect to stand on the offside rather than the onside of the pitch, provided that he or she informs 3 people. If the striker's end umpire doesn't want to stand at square leg anymore, they want to stand at point, they need to inform the captain of the fielding side, the striker, and the other umpire. Now, why would the striker's end umpire want to or need to move from square leg to point? There's 2 reasons. The first one is, as the sun goes down in the late afternoon, if you're standing on the east side of the field looking west, that sun will make the popping crease of the striker's end difficult for you to see. So it is better to stand on the offside at point. Also, sometimes you have a short leg fielder that stands with your view of the popping crease or your view of the striker's end stumps blocked by where that fielder is standing. So therefore, it would be better for you to stand on the offside where there usually isn't a short fielder blocking the view of the popping crease and the striker's stumps. Do umpires change ends? I mentioned that we stand either on the south end or the north end of the field. Law tells us that the umpires shall change ends after each side has had 1 completed innings. So in a T20 match, each side only bats once. So will the umpires change ends? No, They will not change ends in a T20 match. They will not change ends in a 50 overs per side match. Umpires will change ends in a test match, which is over 5 days, because both sides will bat twice in a test match. So after South Africa has batted once and Pakistan has batted once in the test match, then the umpires will change ends. If I was standing at the north end for the first innings and Abdullah was standing at the south end for the second innings, for the first innings, apologies, we will swap ends so that for the second batting innings for South Africa and for Pakistan, Abdullah is standing the north end and Tom will now be standing the south end. Where there is disagreement or dispute about any matter, the umpires together shall make the final decision. Say, for example, a bowler bowls a ball and the striker clearly gets an edge to the ball and it goes towards second slip. Second slip takes a catch low down, close to the ground. Me being the bowler's end umpire, my view is obstructed by the bowler's follow through. So I can't see past the bowler whether the second slip fielder took the catch before it bounced or after it bounced. So Abdullah, in his position at square leg at striker's end, he would have seen whether the ball went on the full into the hands of the second slip fielder or did it bounce just short before the fielder caught the ball. So we will come together. Abdullah will give me his view. If he says, yes, Tom, the ball carried cleanly, it was a fair catch, I will then give the decision out for that particular delivery. Can an umpire change his or her decision? Law tells us that an umpire may alter any decision provided that such alteration is made promptly. This apart, an umpire's decision, once made, is final. So, yes, law does allow us to change our decision. However, I would not advise you to change your decision. If you make a mistake, take that mistake on the chin. Make sure you learn from it and try not to repeat it in the same game or in future matches. Why do I advise that you do not change the decision? Because news gets around very quickly in the world of cricket. You will soon be known as that umpire who changes their decision if a team argues at your decision. So do not change your decision unless it's a decision review system match where teams are allowed to challenge umpires' decisions and television replays show that your decision was incorrect and the TV umpire instructs you to overturn the decision. Please make your decisions without fear or favor. If they're incorrect, do not change them. Otherwise, people will discredit every decision you make going forward. Let's have a look at the signals that umpires make. The out signal needs to be above the head. The boundary 4 signal is along your chest and needs to finish at your chest or against your body. Boundary 6, 2 hands above the head. You can point fingers or palms. Bye is one arm with the palm facing the scorers. Leg bye, you need to turn away from You need to turn square to the scorers so they can see you lifting up your leg and tap your leg with your corresponding hand. Short run, you tap your shoulder with your corresponding hand. Wide ball, both arms out to the side. Dead ball, cross your arms along waist height or just below. No ball, one arm out to the side horizontally. Cancel signal, you cross your arms and touch opposite shoulders with your hands. If a new ball is taken after 80 overs in a Morday game, then you show the new ball before the first ball is bowled with that new ball. Show it to the scorers. Penalty runs. 5 penalty runs awarded to the fielding side, you hold your opposite shoulder. 5 penalty runs awarded to the batting side, you tap your opposite shoulder. And throughout the laws, we will learn when and how penalty runs are awarded to either side. There are more signals. Commencement of last hour, which we will learn about in Law 12. You just point at the opposite wrist. Then we have level 3 violation signal. There's 2 parts to the signals. First one is you wave like a traffic cop would wave down a car. And then the second part of the level 3 violation signal is 2 hands at shoulder height with the palms facing the scorers. And in level 2, if you do it with the Umpires Association that you will join after this course, you will learn what a level 3 offense is. We also have level 4 offenses. If there's a level 4 offense committed, part 1 of the signal is to wave the player down, and part 2 of the signal is similar to an out signal, but here you are holding your index finger up at shoulder height to the side of the body. Okay, remember the out signal is above the head. The level 4 part 2 signal is shoulder height to the side of the body. The umpire shall wait until each signal to the scorers has been separately acknowledged by a scorer before allowing play to proceed. If several signals are to be used, they should be given in the order that the events occurred. I'll give you an example to illustrate what the law is telling us here. A fast bowler bowls an effort ball, and because they are putting extra effort into this delivery, they overstep the popping crease, so that is a no ball. It is a short pitched delivery, also known as a bouncer, that goes over the head of the striker and goes past the wicket keeper and goes all the way along a couple of bounces over the rope for 4. So because it is a no ball first, there was no bat on it, we will give byes. We can't give a wide because the no ball overrides the wide, and then we will signal boundary 4. That is the order in which the events occurred. No ball first, byes because it went past the wicket keeper, boundary 4 because it went over the boundary after a couple of bounces. We need to wait for each signal to be acknowledged first by either or both of the scorers, and then we can go on to the next signal. All signals are to be made by the bowler's end umpire, except that for short run, which is to be signaled by the umpire at the end where the short run has occurred. We will deal with short runs in more details in Law 18. However, the bowler's end umpire shall be responsible both for the final signal of short run to the scorers and for informing them as to the number of runs to be recorded. If the batters attempt to run 3 but ran 2 short, then only 1 run should be recorded. So the bowlers and umpire, after signaling short run to the scorers, would need to communicate by way of radio or by shouting to the scorers that only 1 run should be recorded for that particular delivery. Who is responsible for the correctness of the score? Consultation between umpires and scorers on doubtful points is essential. The umpires shall, throughout the match, satisfy themselves as to the correctness of the number of runs scored, the wickets that have fallen, and the number of overs bowled. They shall agree these stats with the scorers at least at every interval, except for drinks intervals, because we don't go off the field during drinks intervals. And of course, we need to confirm the scores at the conclusion of the match. So that takes us into Law 3, the scorers. How many scorers are appointed for a match? Law tells us that at least 2 scorers shall be appointed to record all the scores, all the wickets taken, and the number of overs bowled. The scorers shall frequently check with each other to ensure that their records agree. They shall agree with the umpires at every interval, except for the drinks break, as mentioned, and at the conclusion of the match, that the number of runs scored, the wickets taken, and the number of overs all agree. Very importantly, scorers must always sit together for the reason that they need to check. Usually at the end of every over, they agree the number of runs scored, the number of wickets taken, and the number of overs bowled in an innings. The scorers shall accept all instructions and signals given to them by umpires and shall immediately acknowledge each separate signal. Moving on to the penultimate law that I will be presenting today, Law 4, the ball. What is the weight and size of a cricket ball? The ball, when new, shall weigh not less than 155.9 grams, nor more than 163 grams, and shall measure not less than 22.4 centimeters, nor more than 22.9 centimeters in circumference. These are the measurements and weights of a men's cricket ball. And you will find on a men's cricket ball, we use 156 gram balls, and that is within that allowed range of a minimum of 155.9 and a maximum of 163 grams. Women's cricket, the women's cricket balls weigh 140 grams minimum and a maximum of 151. The weight of the cricket balls being used at the Women's World Cup, where South Africa beat England yesterday in the semi-final to qualify for the final. Let's all watch it together and support the women Proteas on Sunday. The weight of the cricket balls being used in that competition is 143 grams. And in junior cricket, when I did a boys under 13 tournament many years ago, they were using 135-gram cricket balls. All balls shall be in possession of the umpires before the toss and shall remain under their control throughout the match. The umpires shall take possession of the ball in use at the fall of each wicket and at the start of any interval and any interruption of play. This is to ensure that players do not change the condition of the cricket ball illegally. So whenever the ball is not in play, basically, it shall be in the possession of the umpires. I mentioned a signal for a new ball. Law tells us that unless an agreement to the contrary has been made before the match, either captain may demand a new ball at the start of each innings. In a match of more than 1 day's duration, the captain of the fielding side may demand another new ball when the number of overs, excluding any part overs bowled with the old ball, is equal to or greater than 80 overs. The umpire shall inform the other umpire and indicate to the batters and the scorers whenever a new ball is taken. We don't need to signal new ball when the match starts or when an innings starts. That is common knowledge to everyone that a new ball is used. It's only when a second or a third new ball is taken in an innings that we need to show it to the scorers and obviously announce it to the batters at the crease. What happens if the ball becomes lost or becomes unfit for play? Law tells us that if during play the ball cannot be found or recovered, or the umpires agree that it has become unfit for play through normal use, the umpires shall replace it with a ball which has had wear and tear comparable with that which the previous ball had received before the need for its replacement. So if a ball gets lost or goes out of shape, you don't replace it with a brand new ball. You replace it with a ball that is similar in wear and tear to the one that has been lost or has become unfit for play. But obviously you need to make sure that the ball that you are replacing it with is fit for play. How do we check if a ball is in or out of shape? Picture below is a umpire using a ball gauge. That ball gauge has two rings, a big ring and a small ring. To the naked eye, they look the same size, but they are not. I think there's 5 millimeters difference in their circumference. A men's size cricket ball should not go through the small ring, and it should go through the big ring. If it does not go through the big ring, then it means it's too big or it has gone out of shape. If it goes through the small ring, then it means it's too small. When the ball is replaced, the umpire shall inform the batters at the crease and the fielding captain that a replacement ball is now in use. Let's have a look at a ball controversy change or ball change controversy during an Ashes Test match between England and Australia a couple of years ago. And it was all because the replacement ball that was used did not seem like it was in the same wear and tear as the ball that it replaced. Do you think that those two balls are of similar wear and tear? You cannot feel them, but just by looking at them, it looks like Australia did have a case. The replacement ball on the right looks shinier, looks harder, and looks newer than the ball that it replaced, which is pictured on the left. And hence the controversy, because after the change of the ball, Australia started losing wickets when the previous ball was not taking any wickets. So we need to be careful, and we also need to make sure when we have a match that we have a wide range of spare balls that we can select from if we do have a lost ball or a ball that goes out of shape. Last law that I'm covering before we take a 10-minute break is Law 5, the bat. The bat consists of two parts, the handle at the top and the blade at the bottom. The handle is to be made principally of cane or wood. The part of the handle that is wholly outside the blade is defined to be the upper portion of the handle. It is a straight shaft for holding the bat. The upper portion of the handle may be covered with a grip, as you saw in the previous picture. The blade comprises the whole of the bat apart from the handle, and the blade shall consist only of wood. Here we have a picture of Dennis Lillee in an Ashes Test match in Perth in December 1979. He was using the now famous or infamous aluminium bat. At the time, the laws didn't stipulate what material the bat needed to consist of. So Australia, being Australia, did what they do and used an aluminium bat. After this incident, the lawmakers put it into the law book that the bat blade shall consist only of wood. And so nowadays you will not see any aluminium bats or any bats made out of anything other than wood. For any part of the bat, covered or uncovered, the hardness of the materials and the surface texture thereof shall not be such that either could cause unacceptable damage to the bat. Damage to the ball, apologies. You are allowed toe guards at the bottom of bats. You are allowed tape on the face of the bat. Those should not scratch or damage the ball in any way. Unacceptable damage to the ball is any change that is greater than normal wear and tear caused by the ball striking the uncovered wooden surface of the blade. When is the ball considered to have made contact with the bat? The ball is considered to have made contact with the bat if it makes contact with the bat itself, or the batter's hand holding the bat, or any part of the glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat. And if the ball makes contact with the toe guard or any tape that is on the bat, that will also be considered as the ball making contact with the bat. What are the limits of the bat size? 96.52 centimeters from the top of the bat to the bottom of the bat. That is the maximum length of a bat. What about the width? 10.8 centimeter, the depth 6.7 centimeters, and the edges 4 centimeters. We do not have to learn these limits off by heart or memorize them. We merely need to make sure that a bat passes through a bat gauge. So from the top of the handle to the bottom of the blade, a bat needs to pass through a bat gauge, and if it passes through a bat gauge, we know that it is a correct size. If it does not pass through a bat gauge, it is too big, and we do not confiscate bats that are too big. We merely mark the bat with an X, and we know as umpires that no player should be using a bat with an X on it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp, and for the next few minutes, I'll be taking you through law 6 up until 11. Once I'm done, I'll hand back to Tom. We will then open the floor for any questions that you may have. To kick off, law 6 is the pitch. So the pitch, the length of it, 20.12 meters, and the width 3.05 meters. So this is the length and width of men's pitches, women's, most of the juniors. It's only once you get to under 13 and lower, where we will see in the next slide that the pitch length may differ. But for most forms of cricket, the length of the pitch 20.12 meters and the width 3.05 meters. So who decides and who prepare the pitch for the match? So it's the curator, he or she, and the staff. They decide on the match pitch, and then before the game, they will then prepare the pitch and get it ready for the game. But once the match has started, the umpires, they then in charge with regards to the control of the pitch and the maintenance of the pitch. And we'll see in later laws, when we get to law 9, what is allowed to be done with the pitch and the outfield after the game has started. Are we allowed to change the pitch after the game has started? So yes, the law allows for it, but there's conditions that needs to be met. Firstly, when we start the game on a certain pitch, the umpires needs to decide whether they feel that the pitch is either dangerous or unreasonable for play to continue on it. And then there's another condition. If they, after deciding, yes, we think this pitch is too dangerous, we now, the other condition is, we now need the consent of both captains. So after deciding, yes, I think this pitch is too dangerous, the two umpires will then go to both captains and then ask them, captains, do you want the pitch to be changed? If both say yes, then the law allows for the pitch to be changed. If no, then unfortunately we cannot change the pitch. Earlier I mentioned about the length of pitches, and with respect to junior cricket, especially under 13 and lower. So the law allows for those pitches to be slightly shorter than what the men play with. You can just imagine under 7, under 9, under 11 boys and girls, for them to expect them to bowl on a pitch with a length of 20.12 meters might be challenging for them. The lawmakers recognize this. So for junior cricket, it's up to the governing body, and they can decide especially how long they want the pitches to be for junior cricket. Whether they decide 15 meters, 16, 17, 18, it is up to the governing body to decide. Creases. And funny enough, I played this game for 25 years at club level. And for those 25 years, these lines that were drawn on the pitches, or I called them creases, lines. Those were the names that I called them for 25 years. It's only once I did my level 1 umpiring course did I actually find out that these lines that's drawn on the pitch actually have names. And also they have specific measurements. I never knew this. I just thought they just drawn on the pitch as the groundsman see fit. Let's have a look. So this is a pitch in Potchefstroom, Senwes Park. So these lines that you see on the pitch, they are called creases and they have names. This front line or front crease is called the popping crease. There are two side lines or side creases. They are called return creases. And lastly, there's the bowling crease. The bowling crease you'll find that is the line which the stumps are pitched in. So let's look at them more closely. Again, names of the creases. I'm giving you 3 marks now for the exam. They are going to ask you the name of the creases. So it's important that you do know the names of these creases and also their measurements. So this is a very important slide that you're looking at, not just in terms of the exam, but also every single game that we as umpires officiate. This is an important duty that we need to perform. That's why Tom handled earlier, we umpires needs to be at the ground 45 minutes before play is about to start. And this is one of the reasons why. We as umpires, we need to go double check that the creases are there and the measurements are correct. So how do we check them? We actually physically check them with a measuring tape. We use a 30-meter measuring tape, and with it, we need to double check that the length of the pitch is correct. And we need to make sure that the measurements of the creases are correct. But before I get to the measurements, let's just recap the name of these creases. So the front line or the front crease, that is called the popping crease. Then there are 2 return creases. This is the one return crease and this is the other return crease. And then lastly, there's a bowling crease. And your bowling crease, you'll find that is the line or the crease that the stumps are pitched in. So now we know their names. Let's have a look at the measurements. Let's start with the popping crease. There's a minimum measurement that the popping crease needs to be. And that minimum measurement is 3.66 meters. It can be longer, but the law only wants it to be a minimum of 3.66 meters. So if I go back to this, this pic, the front line, this is the front crease, this is the popping crease, minimum of 3.66 meters. It can be longer, it can be 4 meters, it can be 10 meters. All the law tells us needs to be a minimum of 3.66. The 2 return creases, also a minimum length that they need to be 2.44 meters. They can be longer, but minimum length 2.44 meters. So if you look at this pic, the 2 return creases, 2.44 minimum length, they can be longer, they can be 3 meters, they can be 4 meters. All the law tells us is the minimum length to be 2.44 meters. And the final crease is the bowling crease. And here there is an exact measurement for the bowling crease. And that exact measurement is 2.64 meters. And that is measured from the inside edge of the one return crease where the arrow is pointing up until the inside edge of the other return crease where the top arrow is pointing. So exact measurement of 2.64 meters. Then there's also the how wide the stump should be. We'll get to it when we get to law 8, but I'll tell you now, 22.86 centimeters, that's the width of the stumps. And then the measurement from the back edge of the bowling crease up until the back edge of the popping crease, that measurement is 1.22 meters. So if I can give you a tip, and this is how I remember the creases, this 1.22 meters, if you only memorize this, you can derive 2 other measurements from this measurement. Let me show you which 2 other measurements you can derive from 1.22 meters. If you multiply 1.22 by 2, what do you get? 1.22 times 2 is 2.44 meters. And which measurement is 2.44 meters? Correct, the return creases. So that's the one measurement you can derive from 1.22 meters. The other one is, if you take 1.22 meters and you multiply them by 3, so 1.22 times 3 is 3.66 meters. And which measurement is 3.66 meters? The popping crease minimum measurement is 3.66 meters. So by just memorizing this one measurement, which is 1.22, I can derive 2 other measurements from it. So again, exam tip, also important duties of us umpires before the game. We need to know these creases and we need to know the measurements, because we need to double check them with the use of a measuring tape. When it comes to the wickets, there's also an exact length, how much the wickets needs to be above the ground. If you look at the arrow, from the bottom arrow, the bottom part would be these pointy things would be inside the ground. So from where the arrow starts right up until the top, that is 71.12 centimeters. We also measure this by the use of our measuring tape. Also the width of the stumps. Again, you just follow the arrows. They need to be 22.86 centimeters. Bales gets put on top of the stumps. The law guides us. Those bales that you put on top of the stumps should not be more than 21.27 centimeters above them, and you shouldn't be forcing the bales in. They should, fit nicely between the stumps without having to force them in. The law allows for devices to be used for player safety, and these devices can limit the distance that a bale can travel off the stumps. So the law allows for it, but you need the governing body of cricket for your particular area to authorize these protecting devices. Does the law allow for us to remove the bales from the top of the stumps? The answer is yes, because you often find in places where there are strong winds, like in Cape Town, we often have strong winds. Kaberga, also a place where there's often strong winds. So instead of the bales keep on falling off, umpires keeping on putting them back on, after a while they do waste lots of time. So the law allows for, in those strong winds, and if they keep on falling off, the law allows for the umpires to remove those bales. And if they do decide to remove the bales due to strong winds, they need to remove it from both ends. And then as soon as the wind dies down, let's say late in the afternoon, the wind do die down, please put the bales back on. Law 9 covers the preparation and the maintenance of the playing area after the game has started. So now before the game has started, the curator, he or she and their staff, they will prepare the pitch and the field. But after the game has started, the law is specific. The law guides us what can be done to the pitch and what can be done to the outfield. And for the purpose of this course, it covers more day cricket, like Test match cricket as an example, which spans over 5 days. Provincial cricket, Division 1 and Division 2 cricket in South Africa spans over 4 days. So let's have a look what is allowed and what is not allowed to be done to the playing area after the game has started. Firstly, mowing. The law wants both the pitch and the outfield to be mowed on each subsequent day's play. So yesterday, one, before the start of the game, the curator would have prepared the pitch and the outfield. But now, Test match cricket spans over 5 days. So day 2, the law wants the pitch and the outfield to be mowed. Similarly, day 3, they want the pitch outfield to be mowed. Day 4 and day 5. Why is this the requirement in place? Because you'll be surprised how quickly grass grow. They can grow quickly overnight. So the law wants to try to keep the conditions the same over the 5 days. If you are just going to leave, just cut the grass before the game starts. Just mow the pitch, mow the outfield before the game starts. And if you decide just to leave it for the 5 days, on day number 5, I can tell you that outfield has the potential to be, to be like a bush. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but the grass will grow quickly. Similarly to the pitch, on day 1, it would be nice and short, but if you don't cut it, on day 5 there would be lots of grass on that pitch, and it will definitely change the condition of the pitch. So for the reason of trying to keep the conditions the same over the 5 days, the law wants both the pitch and the outfield to be mowed on each subsequent day. Sometimes it is the outfield is a bit wet due to overnight rain, or there's maybe lots of water lying around, and sometimes not possible to cut the outfield. The law recognizes this, and if that is the case, if it's not possible to mow the outfield, no issue. We just need to inform the captains that why we're not mowing. It's because of the outfield being muddy and wet. So now we know the pitch and the outfield needs to be mowed on day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. So when must the pitch and outfield be mowed? Again, the law guides us. Firstly, when it comes to the pitch, and the law specific, the law tell us, yes, please mow the pitch on the morning of day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. But if you're going to mow the pitch, that mowing of the pitch needs to be done by 9:30 if it's a 10 o'clock start. If day 2 starts at 10 o'clock, by 9:30 mowing of the pitch needs to be done. So if the curator wants to mow the pitch 9:15, no issue. 9:20, they can mow. 9:25, no issue. As long as mowing of the pitch is done 30 minutes before play is about to start. So if it's a 10 o'clock start, by 9:30 it needs to be done. If you have 11 o'clock start, by 10:30 it needs to be done. So that's the timing of the mowing of the pitch. So when it comes to the outfield, mowing of the outfield needs to be done 15 minutes before play is about to start. So if there's a 10 o'clock start on day 2, by 9:45 the outfield needs to be mowed. So now we know mowing, where it's allowed, the pitch in the outfield, and we also know the timing. Next, clearing of debris from the pitch. So what is this clearing of debris? What is this word debris? This word debris is, another way of putting it is, those small pebbles, small stones that become loose out of the turf as the bowlers are, running, bowling the ball, batters run between the wickets. You often find small pieces of pebbles, stones getting scattered across the pitch. In the law, they call this debris. So now we just don't want to leave this small stones scattered across the pitch. The law allows for those small stones to be removed. So when can you remove this debris from the pitch? 3 instances. Firstly, before the start of each day's play. So before the start of day 2, the law allows for the debris to be removed. Between innings, soon as one side is dismissed, there will be a 10-minute change of innings. And in that 10 minutes, the law allows for those small stones to be removed from the pitch. And then lastly, you are allowed to remove those small stones from the pitch during your lunch and during your tea interval. So the curator, the staff will come onto the field during lunch and tea and they remove those debris. So how do you remove these small stones from the pitch? The law is also quite clear and it tells us by sweeping. So you need to use a broom to remove it. So what they do use is they use not these yard brooms. They do use a broom, with soft bristles. Yeah, we don't want the broom to cause damage to the pitch. So the brooms and the bristles are usually very soft. So you clear this small pebbles from the pitch using your broom. So they need the ground staff needs to sweep. But also the law recognizes that at times, if you are going to sweep, it might be detrimental to the pitch. The pitch might break up further, especially pitches in the subcontinent, which those pitches, they have a different soil texture, is not as hard as here in South Africa. So their pitches are much more brittle. And sometimes if you do use a broom, it might further cause damage to the pitch. So if you consider that if you're going to use a broom, it might be detrimental to the surface, you can tell the ground staff not to use the broom, but to use their hands. So next, again, this is after the game has started. Rolling of the pitch. When is rolling allowed? When is rolling not allowed? After the game has now started. Again, the law guides us and they're specific and they tell us. Firstly, after the game has started, rolling only to happen on 2 occasions, and we'll go through them now. And also, the timing of the rolling cannot be more than 7 minutes. So maximum 7 minutes of rolling. So yes, you can roll for 6 minutes. Yes, you can roll for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, even 1 minute, even 30 seconds. As long as it's not more than 7 minutes. Okay, so now we know the timing, not more than 7 minutes. And there are 2 occasions that rolling is allowed after the game has started. Firstly, before the start of each subsequent innings, rolling is allowed. I'll take you through a few practical examples of exactly what happens in a test match or a provincial game. So the first instance where rolling is allowed after the game has started is before the start of each subsequent innings. I'll use an example. South Africa played Pakistan recently. In a test match, let's say, example, Pakistan won the toss and they decided to bat. They won. The game starts at 10 o'clock. South Africa then dismisses Pakistan, let's say, for 300. So Pakistan all out, 300. So as soon as that last wicket fell, what will happen next? There will now be a 10-minute change of innings interval. What will happen in that 10-minute change of innings interval? The 2 umpires will go to the now batting captain. So Pakistan was dismissed, so South Africa will now go into bat in their first innings. So umpires will go to the South African captain and ask the captain, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller and also how long you want rolling. Let me quickly show you in the next slide. At most international grounds, you'll find 3 rollers available. A big one, a medium one, and a hand roller. Some grounds only have 2, maybe some 1. So if there are options available, the batting captain can choose which roller they want. So let's assume in our test match there are 3 rollers available. So the first instance where rolling of the pitch is allowed after the game has started is before the start of each subsequent inning. So now practically what will happen? Umpires will now go to the captain of South Africa. They've dismissed Pakistan for 300. South Africa will now go out to bat. The umpires will now ask the captain of South Africa, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, and it is the prerogative of the captain can say, no, umpire, I don't want rolling. The captain does not have to roll. But most of the time, I would say 99.99% of the time, they do want rolling. And let's say Captain of South Africa tells you, the umpires, yes, umpy, I want rolling. Then you will ask the captain, okay, thank you, captain, you want rolling? How long do you want rolling? Umpire, I want 6 minutes of rolling. No problem, it falls within the 7 minutes. And then you're also going to ask the captain of South Africa, which roller do you want? There's a big one, there's a medium one, and there's a hand roller. Let's say the captain decides, I want the big one. That information will now be relayed to the curator. So we will tell the curator, the captain of South Africa wants the big roller for 6 minutes. And that rolling will take place during the 10-minute change of innings. So same example, South Africa gets now dismissed in their first innings. Let's say for 250. What will now happen? Pakistan will now go bat in their second innings. And umpires will do exactly the same. So before Pakistan go out to bat, they will ask the Pakistan captain, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller? And then for how long? And that information then gets relayed to the curator. And they will do the same in South Africa's second innings. So that is rolling of the pitch before the start of each subsequent innings. That's the first instance where rolling is allowed. Second instance where rolling is allowed is before the start of each subsequent day's play. So before the start of day 2, rolling is allowed. Before the start of day 3, rolling of the pitch is allowed. Before the start of day 4, rolling of the pitch is allowed, and day 5. So now we know before the start of the day's play. But now when before the start? Anytime before the start? No, the law guides us. There's a specific time, there's a window period for this rolling to happen. And this window period is a 20-minute window period. So if play starts at 10 o'clock, anytime between 9:30 and 9:50, rolling of the pitch before the day starts can take place. So that's the theory. Let's see how this is practically applied. So in our test match, let's say we get to day 2, the morning of day 2. Usually umpires and players, we get to the field about 2 hours before play is about to start. So now we know, let's say Pakistan is batting on the morning of day 2. Overnight they were, let's say, 300 for 5. So yes, they are batting the morning of day 2. So what the fourth umpire will now do is, the fourth umpire will go to the captain of Pakistan and ask the captain, this is now the morning of day 2, let's say around about 8 o'clock. Captain of Pakistan, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller do you want? And then how long do you want? As soon as the captain relays that info, yes, umpy, I want the big roller. I want it for 7 minutes, please. The fourth umpire will then relay that information to the curator. But the curator needs to wait because there's a 20-minute window period for this rolling to happen. It can only happen in this 20-minute window period. So if we do have a 10 o'clock start, it can only happen between 9:30 and 9:50. Are we allowed to water the pitch after the game has started? Never ever can the pitch be watered after the game has started. Yes, before, if the curator wants to get the pitch ready, no issue, they can water that pitch. But once the game has started, the pitch cannot be watered. The curator cannot say, yeah, but umpires, it was a hot day, it was 45 degrees here in Kimberley. Can I quickly water the pitch? It will definitely dry because of the heat overnight. No, the law does not allow for it. You need to leave the pitch as is, cannot throw water on that pitch. Are we allowed to remark creases? Yes, the law allows for it because with bowlers, you're landing on the popping crease, ball after ball, batters are running, you'll often find those creases, especially the popping crease, disappear after a time. After a while, there's no more popping crease. So the law allows for those creases to be remarked with a white paint, and this will happen during the interval. So your interval for lunch and tea, the curators will make sure that they remark the creases. Are we allowed to maintain footholds? Yes, the law allows for it. You often find bowlers landing on the same place, ball after ball after ball, and because of their foot landing on the same place, ball after ball, after a while, a hole starts to develop, and that hole just gets bigger and bigger. Now, bowlers vital. Their safety is so important. And they need to be when that front foot land, they need to land in an area that is secure. We don't want a hole to be there. Bowler lands on that front foot, and the bowler then rolls an ankle. So if a hole do develop, the law allows for the curator to fix those holes so that they are even again, and bowlers can then feel secure when the front foot lands. Also, the law allows for some sawdust to be used if the pitch is a bit sticky or damp, and bowlers might slide when that front foot lands. The law allows for some sawdust to be used just to put it there where the front foot lands so that the bowler can then land securely. So are we allowed to cover the pitch? Yes, the law allows for it. Before the game, it's up to the curator. He or she can decide, in terms of covering the pitch, how they want to do it. But once the game has started, now it's for the umpires. They control the use of covers, when it's allowed and when it's not allowed. And again, the law guides us in when to cover it and also when to remove it. Let's first have a look at when the pitch needs to be covered after the game has now started. The pitch needs to be covered on each night of the match, and if in inclement weather like rain. So in our 5-day test match, day 1 will start at 10, will end at 5 o'clock. Before the curator leaves, that pitch needs to be covered. You cannot leave the pitch open overnight. Anything can happen. Even if the weather shows no rain, but there's lots of dew in the evening, we need to cover that pitch overnight. Also in inclement weather, if it's raining, can't just leave the pitch open. We need to cover the pitch. The law wants us to cover it. They also guide us by telling us, please cover the whole pitch and at least 1.22 meters beyond. And also try to cover the bowlers' run-ups as well. So this is as per the law, where they want the whole pitch to be covered and the bowlers' run-ups. But in most competitions across the world, there are playing conditions that allows for not just the pitch to be covered, but also for the square to be covered. And also the playing conditions allow even for the whole field to be covered. We'll see in a later slide an example of a ground where the whole field is actually covered. Now we know when the pitch needs to be covered. So when do you remove those covers? So if it's covered overnight, when you get there the next morning, there's no specific time, but all the law tells us is, as soon as practicable, the morning, please remove those covers. And also, if you did cover the pitch due to rainy weather, as soon as the rain subsides, please then remove the covers. Different countries have different methods how they cover the pitch. Most countries across the world use the plastic to cover the pitch and the square. You do find lots of grounds in England, and this is an example of a ground in England where they use this big cover to actually cover the pitch. Let's have a look at this video.
This is the scene at Trent Bridge, Nottingham. Second day, the game between Nottinghamshire and Durham. The last week started to rain. Special cover being brought into play and brought to the centre to cover the wicket. Although it's daytime, the lights are on, which just assists the batsman's view a little. Players trudge off into the pavilion. Some of the members have already got their umbrellas up. So this is rather a disconsolate scene as this light drizzle has been falling since the start of play has got a little heavier. We all hope that it won't last for very long. So this is that's the county hall with a green roof, the headquarters of the Nottinghamshire County Council, and over there is the world-renowned, as it says on it, Trent Bridge Inn. So it's Michael Parkinson saying cheerio for now.
So that's how they cover lots of grounds in England, but not all across the world. They use that type of covering. Like in South Africa, we do use the plastic to cover the pitch and the square. And some grounds, they actually don't just cover the pitch and the square, they actually cover the whole field, like this test match ground in Sri Lanka. So playing conditions allow for this. So yeah, different types of covering, no issue. Law allows for this. The last law that I'm covering before handing over to Tom. So in more-day cricket, we do have intervals. I mean, test match cricket spans over 5 days. It is there are 6 hours of playing, of 6 playing hours in a day. They need to bowl 90 overs in a day. And yes, players do need to take intervals to rest and to get some supplements in their body. So according to the law, there are scheduled intervals. There are 5 examples of scheduled intervals according to the law. Firstly, period between close of play on day 1 and the start of play on day 2, that is seen as a scheduled interval in the law. Your interval between innings, scheduled interval. Your interval for meals, like your lunch and your tea interval, scheduled interval. Your interval for drinks, scheduled interval. And lastly, any other agreed interval, also a scheduled interval. So these scheduled intervals are intervals that was decided by the governing body before the game starts. These are our scheduled intervals, and they also then give us the timings of these intervals. Like your interval between innings is 10 minutes. Your interval for lunch is 40 minutes. Your interval for tea, 20 minutes. And In Test match cricket, your interval for drinks is 4 minutes. So these timings of these intervals decided by the governing body of cricket for that particular competition before the game starts. So all the law tell us when it comes to the duration of these intervals is whatever the governing body decided, whether it's 40 minutes or 20 minutes. Let's use 40 minutes for our lunch as an example. So the law tells us if you decide lunch to be 40 minutes, we want everyone to enjoy a 40-minute lunch. We want players to enjoy a 40-minute lunch as the umpires, the scorers, everyone must enjoy a 40-minute lunch. So what the law tells us is when does this 40 minutes start and when does it end? So your 40 minutes starts, let's say in our test match, 10 o'clock start and lunch is at 12 o'clock. So if the final ball of the over gets bowled at exactly 12 o'clock, if you you get to 12, we get to 12 o'clock, you bowl the final ball, you look at your watch, you see it's 12 o'clock, the bowlers in umpire will then call over, time and lunch. So that's exactly 12 o'clock. So now the law wants everyone to enjoy a 40-minute lunch. So first ball after lunch needs to be bowled at 12:40. It's not every time that you get to exactly 12 o'clock and the final ball gets bowled. I would say 99% of the time you don't get to 12 o'clock and you're not at the end of the over. You are still midway through the over. 2 balls are bowled or 3 balls or 4 balls. So what happens if you do get midway through the over and you get to 12 o'clock? So now the law guides us by telling us, yes, you cannot take lunch if you are midway through the over. You first need to complete the over. And let's say your over is done at 12:02. So now at 12:02, you'll call over, time and lunch. But now when will you restart after lunch? Exactly 40 minutes later. At 12:42, that first ball needs to be bowled. I mentioned earlier about the exact time for the change of innings interval, 10 minutes according to the law. So usually our timings for our intervals, are fixed. Like we know in Test match cricket, play will start at 10 o'clock. Lunch will be 12 o'clock. We'll have a 40-minute lunch. We'll play another 2-hour session and we'll have tea at 14:40 till 3 o'clock. So these times are usually fixed, but the law allows for a bit of flexibility when it comes to our intervals. There are flexibility when it comes to our change of innings interval, when it comes to our lunch interval, our tea interval, and our drinks interval. Why this flexibility? Because we want to try to maximize play in the day. We want to try to get as much cricket in as possible. Hence, the reason for bit of flexibility. Let's have a look at what flexibility the lawmakers brought into these intervals. Let's start with our change of innings interval. Let's have a look. If an innings ends 10 minutes or less to the close of play, the law tells us it will be end of the day's play. You will then come back the next morning. Even though you ended a few minutes earlier, you will not make up that time the following day. Okay, that's a theory. Let me give you a practical example to show you how the theory works. So in our test match, play starts at 10 and close of play is 5 o'clock. At 16:52, Pakistan gets dismissed. We take the 10th Pakistan wicket. So what happens next? 5 o'clock is our close of play. 16:52, the 10th Pakistan wicket fell. It's now 8 minutes to go to close of play. So what do? Here the law tells us, as soon as an innings ends 10 minutes or less, and in our case, the innings ended 8 minutes to go with it, so which is 10 minutes or less, it will then be close of play at 16:52. And yes, we ended 8 minutes earlier, but we will not start 8 minutes earlier the following day. So this is the first flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our change of innings interval. The next bit of flexibility that they brought in And this is all done to save time, to maximize play during the day. So here they tell us, if a captain declares an innings close in an interruption or a scheduled interval of more than 10 minutes, we will then incorporate or include the 10-minute change of innings interval into our interval. Okay, that's the theory. I'll give an example to show you how the theory works. Our lunch is at 12 o'clock, and we get to 12 o'clock, and the final ball gets bowled, and the umpire calls over, time, and lunch. So, seeing that we took lunch at 12 o'clock, we need to first ball after lunch needs to be rebowled at 12:40. So South Africa was batting at the time when we took lunch, and let's say they were on 600 for the loss of 3 wickets. So now, first ball after lunch needs to be bowled at 12:40. At 12:20, captain of South Africa comes to you and say, umpire, I am declaring my innings close. This is now at 12:20. So now what happens? So now there's a declaration, and we are still in lunch. So what we can do now is, usually a change of innings, there's a 10-minute change of innings interval. But seeing that we're in lunch, we have 20 minutes left of our lunch, we can now incorporate this change of innings interval into our lunch interval. We will now go to the Pakistan captain and inform him or her that the Proteas captain has declared you will now need to go back after lunch. Because there's now a change of innings, if the now batting team has an option of rolling, we'll ask the Pakistan captain, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller and for how long? But the flexibility, to summarize the flexibility that the lawmakers brought into in this point is, if there is a declaration and it happens in a scheduled interval or interruption of more than 10 minutes, please include it in your, like in my example, in your lunch. We maximize play, we're saving time. Then there's a clause that allows the umpires, and if both captains agree, the umpires and both captains have power to play around with their lunch and their tea interval. But it's only if we lose time through adverse conditions like bad weather, rain, lightning. In those circumstances, the law gives both the two umpires and the captains a bit of power. You can play around with your tea interval or your lunch interval by taking it earlier to try to maximize play. Then there are specific events that happen, and when these things happen, the law tells us you will take your interval. Let's start with lunch, and after lunch we'll go to tea, and then we'll also see our drinks interval. But with lunch, there's specific events that happen, and the law tells us if this happens, you will take an early lunch. Let's look at the first instance. If an innings ends 10 minutes or less to lunch, the law tells us you will take lunch. You don't need to ask anyone. The law instructs us, take lunch. We will then include the 10-minute change of innings interval into our lunch break. That's the theory. Let me give you an example to illustrate how this theory works. Our lunch is at 12 o'clock. At 11:55, Pakistan gets dismissed. So what happens next? We're 5 minutes to lunch because lunch is at 12 o'clock. But now Pakistan is dismissed at 11:55. And this is where this clause can be activated. If an innings ends, so in my example, Pakistan's innings ended, we took the 10th Pakistan wicket at 11:55. And because this is 10 minutes or less to our scheduled lunch time of 12 o'clock, we can take lunch immediately. So we can take lunch at 11:55. Lunch will be then from 11:55, and we will enjoy a 40-minute lunch. So we will be back. First ball after lunch will be bowled at 12:35. We can then include or incorporate the change of innings interval into our lunch interval. Again, this is done. Flexibility to our lunch interval gives us the power to maximize play. Secondly, when it comes to our lunch interval, if due to adverse conditions like rain or lightning, and players needs to leave the field 10 minutes or less to our lunch interval, we will take an early lunch. Our lunch will then be 40 minutes, and we will play after lunch, weather conditions permitting. An example to illustrate how the theory works. Our lunch is at 12 o'clock. At 11:52 it starts to rain. So what happens now? Players leave the field, and this is where this clause can be activated. The law tells us that because it's 8 minutes to go to lunch, because it started raining at 11:52, we can then take lunch immediately. Lunch will then be from 11:52 for 40 minutes up until 12:32, when the first ball after lunch to be bowled. So this is the flexibility that the lawmakers brought into our lunch interval. Let's have a look at tea. Let's have a look at what flexibility the lawmakers brought into our tea interval. If an innings ends 30 minutes or less to tea, the law allows us to take an early tea. We will then include the change of innings interval into our tea interval. An example to illustrate how the theory works. Let's say our tea is at 3 o'clock. At 14:40, South Africa gets dismissed. So now an innings ended, and this is 14:40 with tea being at 3 o'clock. This is 30 minutes or less to tea. We will now take tea at 14:40. So tea will be from 14:40 till 3 o'clock, and we will incorporate the 10-minute change of innings into our interval. Some more flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our tea interval. If, when we get to 30 minutes to go till tea, there's already a change of innings interval in progress, we now need to take a 10-minute change of innings interval, and play will restart after this 10-minute change of innings interval. That's the theory. Let's use a practical example to illustrate how the theory works. So our tea is at 3 o'clock. At 14:25, Pakistan gets dismissed. So what happens at 14:25? Because it's 35 minutes to go till tea, we cannot take an early tea, because point 1 tells us only if an innings ends 30 minutes or less, we can take an early tea. But now Pakistan was dismissed 35 minutes to go to tea. So now the law tells us we need to have a 10-minute change of innings. So from 14:25 till 14:35, we'll have a change of innings interval. South Africa will have to come bat, and they face the first ball at 14:35. They will then play from 14:35 up until 3 o'clock, when we will take tea at our normal time. More flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our tea interval. Again, just to save time. If it rains or bad light or lightning with 30 minutes or less to go to tea, we can take an early tea. Let's use an example to illustrate this. Our tea is at 3 o'clock, normal time, 3 o'clock. It starts raining at 14:40. So now what do we do? Now the law tells us, seeing that this is now 20 minutes to go to tea, and seeing that this is 30 minutes or less to tea, we can take an early tea. We will then take tea from 14:40 till 1500 hours. More flexibility to tea. If a stoppage is already in progress when 30 minutes remain before tea, we can bring tea 30 minutes forward. I'll use an example to illustrate this. Tea is at 3 o'clock. At 14:20, Pakistan gets dismissed. Can you take early tea at 14:20? No, not. Why? Because this is now 40 minutes to go till tea. The law tells us it needs to be 30 minutes or less to go to tea. So now, because it is 40 minutes to tea, when we left the field, we cannot take early tea. So now the law tells us, yes, we couldn't take tea at 14:20, but now for 10 minutes we sat in the change room. As soon as we reach 14:30, now we can take an early tea. So now we can have tea from 14:30 till 14:50. And then more flexibility that the lawmakers brought into our lunch or our tea interval, again to maximize play. If a side is 9 wickets down, but the side must be 9 wickets down when we get to our lunch or our tea interval. And if they're 9 wickets down, we can extend the session by a maximum of 30 minutes. We want to let's give the fielding side the opportunity to try to take the 10th wicket. And if they can, we will then take tea. If they can take it within 30 minutes, we'll take tea. If they cannot take it within 30 minutes, we're only allowed to play a max of 30 minutes. Okay, that's the theory. Let me give you an example to illustrate how the theory works. So let's use lunch as an example. Lunch is at 12 o'clock. We get to 12 o'clock, the final ball gets bowled, and the side and South Africa is 500 for 9. So now what happens? Now the law tells us, yes, I know we've reached 12 o'clock. I know it's time for lunch. But because the South Africa's 9 wickets down, don't take lunch. Let's see if the fielding side can take that 10th South African wicket. But we only give them 30 minutes. So in scenario 1, if let's say Pakistan take the 10th South African wicket at 12:10. Now at 12:10 we can take lunch. Lunch will be then from 12:10 for 40 minutes. First ball after lunch will be bowled at 12:50. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, let's say Pakistan cannot take the 10th South African wicket within that maximum 30 minutes that they allowed to see if they can take the wicket. So now we get to 12:30 and Pakistan couldn't take the 10th South African wicket. Now we only allowed a max of 30 minutes. Now we must take lunch at 12:30. So lunch will be then from 12:30 till 13:10. Penultimate slide that I'm doing before handing back to Tom. Flexibility that the lawmakers brought into our drinks interval. So firstly, law tells us drinks cannot be more than 5 minutes. The governing body for Test cricket, the ICC, they decided drinks to be 4 minutes for Test matches. So now they tell us, again to maximize play, if a wicket falls or a batter retires within 5 minutes to drinks, we will take an early drinks. That's the theory. Let me show you practically how it works. Let's say drinks in the morning is 11 o'clock. So at 10:56, a wicket falls. Let's say South Africa's batting at the time, they 200 for 4. And at 10:56, they take a wicket, Pakistan takes a wicket, and now South Africa's 200 for 5. But the wicket fell at 10:56, and we know drinks is at 11 o'clock. Because this wicket fell within 5 minutes to drinks, we will now take drinks at 10:56. So drinks will be from 10:56 till 11 o'clock. But it must be within 5 minutes. In another example, if a wicket should fall at 10:54, will we take an early drinks? No, we will not. Why? If drinks is at 11 o'clock and the wicket fell at 10:54, this is now 6 minutes to go to drinks. It's not within the 5 minutes, so we now need to continue playing. The new batter will have to come in and will take drinks at normal time of 11 o'clock or at 11 o'clock. Last slide that I'm doing. Drinks may not be taken during the last hour of the match. We will handle the last hour in our session next week. And then lastly, we've covered flexibility that the lawmakers brought into our change of innings interval, our lunch interval, our tea interval, our drinks interval. It allows us to bring it, to play around with it, to bring it forward. So if at any time we do change our times for our lunch or our tea, please let the scorers know. Let them know that we are taking an early lunch or we are taking an early tea. Tom, thank you so much. That's all I'm covering today. Handing back over to you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. And thank you very much for the 92 candidates who are still with us after our first Thursday class, lecture number 1. I hope we've all learned something and able to remember all of this information for the level 1 exam. Just a quick summary on the exam. It is a 69 question online exam. Some of the questions are true or false. Some of them are multiple choice. It is an open book exam, so you can use your law book. You can use a presentation that we have sent to you to check for answers, but do be aware that you have 90 minutes in which to complete those 69 questions, so you cannot just take forever to answer all of your questions. And we will get into the nitty-gritty and the click-by-click demonstrations of the online level 1 exam in our 4th lecture. So please make sure you join us for that one. Looking at the chat box while we were presenting, Justin mentions that we are moving too fast with our slides. Justin, we've got a lot of content to get through and we don't have that much time to get through it. So please bear with us and try and keep up. Remember, if you don't understand anything, just type a question into the chat box. We'll answer it at the end of the lecture. Justin wants to know, is there any chance I can watch the full video again after the live video? Yes, Justin, this lecture is being recorded and I will download it and then upload it onto our YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of today, if not latest tomorrow morning, and I will post the link of that YouTube recording in our WhatsApp group. So first and foremost, please make sure that you are all on the WhatsApp group so you can get lecture reminders and exam support when the exam comes along. And also, please make sure that all your colleagues who passed the introduction to umpiring exam are also on the WhatsApp group so that nobody gets left behind or does not have links to lectures. So before we close off this afternoon's lecture, I'm going to ask all of you to put on your cameras and put on your microphones. I want to hear and see where everybody's from. I can see Jan is joining us, and Kosinati Masinga is joining us. Please all put your cameras on so we can see where you are. And are there any Beseba candidates here today? Beseba, are you in the house? Kaya Licha, are you in the house? Dobsonville, are you in the house? Unmute your microphone and tell us where you are from and give us a wave. Hello, everybody. Let's see who else is got their cameras on.
I'm from Worcester.
Worcester is in the house.
Hello everyone, Dobsonville's in the house.
Dobsonville is in the house. Welcome, Dobsonville. Always making
I'm
noise.
from Tanzania.
Danzan is in the house.
I'm from
Hello, Eastern
Tanzania.
Cape. Welcome.
Midolens is in the house.
What's my East is in the house?
Hi, I'm from Centurion.
Centurion is in the house. Okay.
It's coming out.
Hi everyone, Sweetwater is in the house.
Okay, welcome. Simpiwe Mkize, where are you calling us from?
From
Wendy and Tuli, you got your hand up. Do you have a question? Or are you just waving to say hi, Wendy? Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining and thank you so much for your interaction. We will see you next week, Tuesday for the Tuesday lecture, Thursday for the Thursday lecture. Join us for one of the two. You don't need to join both. Have a great week further. We'll see you next week. You will get the link to the recording for the lecture tomorrow latest. See you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.